Hey guys, welcome back to the Far Better Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Clark, and today we're talking about the church in God's eternal purpose. We've already talked about a lot of these things already, and so we don't anticipate a very long diatribe, if you will, about what we're discussing. There's several episodes I know on the Scattered Abroad Network about the subject, including this own podcast. But the church in God's eternal purpose is season 10, episode 14, episode 208 overall. Let's define what's often taught, and let's defeat it. Number one, Jesus came to set up a physical kingdom on earth, fulfilling promises to Israel. However, because they unexpectedly, the Jews, rejected him, John 1:11, he postponed it. As a temporary solution, the church is established as a stopgap until Christ can return and set up his kingdom at a later time. The cross was an unfortunate consequence, not a necessary eternal purpose. That feels so wrong to say out loud. This view undermines the cross, amen to that, devalues the church, and contradicts prophecy. Bradley, have at it.
You know what's interesting about this doctrine? It calls Jesus a failure. To say that the church was a backup plan. That because the Jews rejected him, he said, I'm going to call an audible and establish the church. You know, wouldn't it be extremely convenient in John chapter 6, as the people want to take him and make him a king, if that truly were his purpose on earth, to say, hey, they're ready. Why don't I go ahead and establish that literal earthly kingdom? But this doctrine that, the church was a backup plan, they might not say it so explicitly, calls Jesus Christ a failure. I don't know how it's possible to look at passages in the Old Testament and not see the church and God's eternal purpose. Whether you're looking at Isaiah 2, Joel 2, Daniel 2, see the fulfillment in Acts 2. How many sermons have you and I preached on the twos of the Bible?
Yeah.
But not just those two chapters. Throughout the book of Isaiah, you see these hints, these nuggets being dropped of something better. Of far better, even, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
You see so many mentions of a spiritual body, a spiritual kingdom, not something physical. What could that be talking about if it's not the church? If the church was an audible, if it was a backup plan, how do you explain so many of these prophecies of the Old Testament? How do you explain Daniel 7, 13 and 14? That doesn't make sense. Daniel chapter 2. Whenever you're talking about the kingdom that God will establish and how it will stand forever and ever. What's he talking about there if he's not talking about the church?
Yeah.
It just simply does not align with the rest of the Bible.
Yeah, I laid down my life voluntarily.
Yeah.
So what Jesus is saying there, wouldn't he say, I'm having to do this now?
Well,
Wouldn't he
you
have
guys
said,
rejected me, so I guess this is what I'm
forced
doing
my
now.
hand. I'm forced to do this. This was a choice. And on one of the Through Their Eyes episodes that we did with Josh Cantrell, we talked about the choice of humility that Jesus employed in Philippians 2, 1 through 11. That's what's being talked about by Jesus himself. I laid down my life. I'm doing that willingly. Not because I'm obligated to now all of a sudden and that wasn't part of the plan. I think many of us would balk at the idea that Jesus was told by God, hey, this is the plan. You're going to go down there and you're going to be this king on earth. Everybody's going to love you. They're going to accept you. And then you get there and they don't have phones, but obviously a proverbial conversation between God and Jesus. How did it go? It didn't go well. They've rejected me. I've got an idea. You should just die. And then Jesus just simply say, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That cheapens the sacrifice of Jesus. It cheapens the humility of Christ and the willingness to say, I'll die so you don't have to, when it's just, well, I've got to do this. He didn't fail. He fulfilled. The cross wasn't a backup plan. It was the plan. And I don't have anything more. You talked about all the prophecies. You talked about all these things. I have nothing more that could possibly be said about this than has already been stated other than this. The premillennial teaching is he came to set up a physical kingdom. No, he came to seek and save that which was lost, Luke 19:10. The church is a temporary backup. No, it's a part of eternal purpose of God, Ephesians 3:10 and 11. The cross was unfortunate. No, it was foreordained, 1 Peter 1:18 through 20. It is yet future, the kingdom. No, it's now present. Colossians 1:13, Revelation 1:9. The prophets spoke of an early reign. No, they spoke of a spiritual kingdom, Isaiah 2 and Daniel 2. To say the church is an accident is to say God was surprised, Jesus failed, and the cross was unnecessary. I am not comfortable saying all of that. And I hope and pray that anybody that has been saying all of that will get away from the comfortability of saying it going forward. Do you have anything else you want to add to this?
You know, if you really think about it, doesn't John 3:16 destroy a lot of this argument?
Absolutely.
For God so loved the world. Wait a minute. If the cross was a backup plan, that's not love.
No.
That's quick thinking.
That's right.
You know, that's improv.
We did it.
That's improv.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be love. It was God's love that designed this plan for us. And, you know, this idea of a physical kingdom, it's not a new idea. This is something that even the disciples struggled with. In Acts chapter 1, you'll remember in verse 6, right as Jesus is about to ascend, you remember what they asked him? Do you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? They didn't get it. And people today who say that the kingdom is something yet future, they just don't get it.
Yeah. Bradley, thanks for being with us. Thank you. We won't have any more video content in this fashion. Thank you to Chris Rogers, who is off to my left. And we appreciate him being a part of the Scattered Abroad Network and working diligently all week long. He has had a long day. He wants to hurt me, and I don't blame him. We're going to give him the rest of the night off, at least from filming stuff. We're going to be breaking some stuff down next, so he still wants to hurt me, I'm sure. But we appreciate him so much, his family, for letting him be here and sacrificing in that way. We're thankful to you for watching, listening. We hope and pray that as you continue your walk with Christ, you'll be pleasing to God in this life, so eternity can be far better.